800,000 times a year on that tip line. You know, we start working that up, an investigative package. The way it works is when there's a tip at the tip line, they end the call, they develop an investigative package, and then we either call to a fusion center that's in the state or to the local FBI office so we can start that investigation. You're not going to get that done in 15 minutes. So that's how we do every one of those calls. They're worked up, and then they go out to the fusion centers and to the local FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force to see if we can track them down. I can say it's multiple times. I don't know exactly how many. Over a long period of time.
You mentioned that obviously you've responded to a lot of these active shooters, and you are studying them. What is it about this particular man that is unique and different about other active shooting situations besides just that he was mobile?
I'm not sure there is anything unique. I'm not sure it's more unique than any of the other active shooters. So if you look at just 2018, right, there were 27 major active shooters in this country, which is why I say every 2 weeks. You look at the ones we've already had this year, it's very similar in nature in what we have.
And what are those characteristics?
I think the most important characteristics where people can help us is this spiraling downward path that these individuals have, where they lose mental capacity, they become more mentally challenged. And there's a way to break that path. I really do believe that, by people who see it. You know, one of the studies, one of the parts of the study is in a large percentage of the active shooters, people saw that there was an issue, and really one of two things happen. They do nothing, or they actually confront the person who's in mental distress singularly. So you'll go to your friend and say, hey, I've noticed something's wrong, you know, you're changing, but then it stays there. Very few instances do people then reach out to a mental health professional or a boss or the law enforcement to say, hey, this person is of concern. This is what I have seen, and it has me very concerned. If we could do more of that, I think some of these we might be able to stop.
What are some of those issues? Can you elaborate on that? Like what people need to be looking out for? At what point do you become concerned enough that you call local or federal authorities?
What we always say is it's a change in behavior. Right? We got to be careful there. It's a change in behavior. Hey, if there are a lot of people who are hunters, I have a lot of weapons, you know, that's normal, right? But if you have a neighbor or a friend who's never gone hunting, who's never talked about firearms, and all of a sudden they're acquiring firearms and they're going to the range 3 times a week, that's a change in behavior. For me, that's normal. That's a change for most people. Another thing that we see that shows that is a really increased desire to see violence, whether that's online, in the movies. In particular online, there are some very graphic and disturbing videos that are out there, and we have had tips on the terrorism side where people have seen others watching beheading videos at work, and then they call the FBI. That's a great idea. If you see that, you should definitely call us. And people, you can see that in people, and that's part of that spiral downward, and that level of violence in their life actually increases.
So going back to the condition at the house, are we talking about a hoarding situation or where there's different objects?
I can't talk to you about inside the house. I can tell you on the outside, it's not clean.
Can you talk about, you've been calling the FBI tip line for years, and you're seeing calls to Odessa police, like local law enforcement. At what point when he's making these phone calls or anything, is it ever flagged with his calls individually? Is there a system to recognize that he might be at risk with his own behavior?
Well, it's not illegal to be not mentally sane, right? So really, when you get to the threatening point, if you start making threats, that's when we now have legal ability to do things. I can tell you that thousands of people call law enforcement every day with crazy ramblings. When I was an agent, they used to walk up to the FBI office and we would interview them. Many times a day that happens today. I can tell you many times a day in my office, people come in who have mental challenges. So that's not the bar. The bar is when somebody makes threatening comments or you see actions that are leading to illegal behavior. And that's hard. That's very hard because of the amount of calls that we get, that everybody, all law enforcement gets like that.
Can you share more about just the magnitude of work that went with processing all of the crime scenes and assisting local law enforcement with that?
So we had over 15 scenes. This was a massive evidence collection operation, which is why between the Odessa Police Department, the Texas Rangers bringing in their team, and then the FBI, we brought in three teams. With that many people, we're able to chew through that a lot more effectively. They're still working, and they're going to be working tomorrow as well. We're not done on that. I don't know yet. Every night we have meetings to kind of talk about where we are and what we think the next work period is going to be. So probably tomorrow we'll have a better assessment for you of how many more crime scenes we have to work.
Special question, if Texas had red flag laws, would those rambling voicemails left on the tip line be enough in your mind for law enforcement to go in and seize that person's weapons?
So I don't know enough about that topic to really speak on that, so I'm going to waive on that. I'm sorry.
Special agent, after each mass shooting, a lot of people study them, look at, response time. What are some areas that we really want in terms of local, state, and federal interagency communication, as we move forward, as, lawmakers make other recommendations down the road?
I mean, I honestly believe that what American law enforcement has done to respond to these in the last number of years is incredible how fast we've changed. So I think we're doing a good job on that. It is almost impossible. When we're this far down the road, that's very difficult. I can tell you that we have seen the response times of police to be much quicker to active shooters, and then the time to engage the shooter has dramatically decreased. So if you look at Columbine, one of the really hard lessons learned that came out of that was how long it took law enforcement from the time on site to actually enter the building. Now we are teaching every cop in America, single officer entry. As soon as you get there, you have to move to the threat. You have to stop the gunman. So that has made a very big difference on a number of these scenes as far as the numbers of injured and killed. And I think that is absolutely the right way to go about it.
In terms of, Texas, school safety has been a big conversation. A lot of schools have invested in, additional technologies to help speed up that communication. Do those pieces of equipment help?
So I don't know all the ones you're talking about. I would say this, and we, the FBI, have put out products for schools, colleges, and houses of worship. You have to have a plan. Everyone should have a plan on what are they going to do when there's an active shooter. A lot of them include many of the tools I think you're referencing, but most important, it's to have a plan. What are we going to do in this school, church, place of business when we do have an active shooter?
Question, they mentioned earlier that the gun, even if black for a gun, you can deny on a national background check. Can you elaborate on that as you start going forward?
So ATF is working that issue right now as far as the gun purchases, so I don't have the information to get into that.
The second question is, in terms of the specific timeline, I know you can't get into all the specifics, but the sequence of events that it was 15 minutes, the call to the tip line was 15 minutes before you came to the rescue.
That's correct.
And do you know when the other call happened, some before, some after?
Some before, and I can't quote you the time, some were before and some were after.
So you started calling police after firing an DPS?
Yes. Before and after the DPS trooper was shot, there are phone calls from the subject.
So while he was on the shooting rampage, she was calling 911?
Yes.
And
Right,
in
is
the
it-
calls, he wasn't saying anything specific about what he was doing. It was just rambling still after he started firing.
No, afterwards it changes. Yes, afterwards it changes into that he's the guy doing it.
What was he saying? How did you know he was the guy doing it?
Because he said that he was the guy doing it. So I don't have all those transcripts yet. Again, that's an investigative part. But again, he's already involved in it. It's
So he admits on the phone with the police dispatcher and shooting citizens in Odessa.
I don't know if that's an exact quote.
But he admits it?
He says that he is shooting people, but that is not a quote. Okay?
And he doesn't give a reason why, he just makes the statement.
Rambling statements again. There's a lot of rambling statements on incoherent subjects. It's hard to tell you which one he talked the most about.
Victims or witnesses were saying that when they were trying
I don't know the specifics of that. I will say this nationwide, right? When there's a critical incident like this, it often overwhelms 911 systems. You know, they're built for an average call volume, and it just goes up by 10, right? So that's a nationwide thing. During those critical incidents, that is common to see. And there's really not much that you can do about that, which is unfortunate.
What was the 911 operator saying to him once they found out? Were they doing anything to calm him down?
I'm sorry, I don't know all those details.
So it was 911, not FBI.
Yeah, so he called Odessa PD, and he called FBI. So Odessa PD fielded
And Midland.
And Midland, yes, they fielded 911 calls.
He
So
called
about it. Huh?
He called all three.
Yes.
That's 911 that goes to.
Yes. So yes,
Oh, he was dialing 911.
he dialed 911. So that means that it got dispatched out according to where he was geographically. So kind of keep that in mind.
Would you say this was somebody who was known to law enforcement, or was he just part of the greater fabric?
Again, that's a local question. I'm sorry, I can't get into that.
During the 911 call, did he specifically, when the
All right, okay,
operator
so-
asked,
We're going to take one more after you, and if it's at 911 questions, that's when anything 911 has to be directed to the city of Odessa.
regarding the FBI, did he specifically ask that operator to speak to the FBI during any of those phone calls? During the
I'm not sure. Okay.
Are you aware of the suspect having any diagnosed mental health conditions?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm saying I am not aware of that information.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.